Hey guys.
Hi.
You're listening to Not As We Planned, so get ready for
Honest,
raw,
unfiltered,
unhinged story,
where we share our advice, opinions,
and talk about all the shit that people avoid discussing. We want to point out we are not qualified professionals, although I feel like I am one.
and what we say is the advice we would give to our besties. Hi guys, welcome back to Not As We Planned. Happy Thursday. And if you don't already, please go and follow, subscribe, share, like, do a review. Honestly, it helps us more than you know.
It really does.
What's news?
Fuck all. Literally nothing. Yeah. That's good, isn't it? If that's how the rest of the episode's going to go. You?
We just living life right now.
Living life.
No, look, we're just, just nothing to report.
Okay, well, we sound fucking exciting, don't we? Should we then just crack on with some emails? Shall I start?
Crack-a-lacking.
Okay, this is called A Story of Love, Lies and Levelling Up. You guys need to hear this.
I thought we were talking about laryngitis. Don't know. Just trying to think of something.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack here, girls. After binge listening to your entire podcast, I'm hooked. I felt compelled to share my story with you. It just feels fitting. So here it goes. I separated from my husband and ended a 10-year relationship back in 2016. I was 32 at the time, with 2 kids aged 6 and 2. It wasn't a decision I made lightly, but it was a necessary one for my own happiness. My ex was 12 years older than me, and honestly, I was young and naive when we met. I fell head over heels, but over time I realised he could never meet my needs. What followed were 3 years of broken-hearted survival, juggling kids between 2 homes, feeling guilty for ending the marriage, figuring out solo parenting, and just trying to rebuild my life and survive. Also worth mentioning, during this time, I kissed a fair few frogs trying to find my prince with 0 success.
Relate.
Ribbit. But in 2019, everything changed. I got a new job, life found a new rhythm, and for the first time, I truly began to heal. I quit drinking, started leveling up my life, and started enjoying quality time with the kids. Hashtag FTW. For the
win.
Fatwa. Then COVID hit and dating took a back seat. But by early 2022, I was ready for some action.
Bet you are. What a drought.
And enter my next life lesson. Oh, God, here we go.
I'm done with life lessons. Sick of
I'm not sure if you use names on the pod, but let's just say his name starts with an M and rhymes with twat. We're calling him Matt the Twat. We matched on Bumble in January. I was instantly flattered that a decent-looking footballer type with no kids would be interested in a single mum of 2. His dating history seemed solid. He had come out of a long-term 13-year relationship just before COVID, which made me think he was capable of commitment. The conversation was easy, and 3 weeks later, we went on our first date. It went so well that 5 hours flew by. Then came the second date and the third date. By his birthday in March, we were officially a couple. The first 2 years were amazing. We made the most of every opportunity to be together, and after a few months, I introduced him to my kids. We enjoyed regular date nights, family holidays, solo trips as a couple, all while maintaining our independence. I had my house with the kids, and he lived in his flat about 30 minutes away. We split our time between both places, and it felt like a healthy, balanced relationship. Equal effort, shared values, and real conversation about a future together.
it just sounds so fantastic, and I feel really unwell that it's going to turn.
Why does reading stuff like this does make me feel anxious?
It makes me feel like, God, like, even when you think like you've got it all and then like suddenly something's going to happen, like it does make me, things like this do make me hesitant to like put myself in a situation.
It's a bit late for me. I don't want him to be a life lesson. Fast forward to February 2024 and I noticed something new. He had a female Strava, the fitness app, superfan who liked all his posts. I don't understand Strava. I find it so pointless.
People get caught out by Strava, though.
Can you message on Strava?
I don't really know, but I mean, in terms of their routes.
Oh, suck off. P.S. You can now DM on Strava too.
Fantastic. Let's just add some more ways for arseholes to be arseholes, shall we?
When I asked him about her, my internal alarm bells went off as his vague and inconsistent answers lacked depth and sincerity. I kept probing, went back and forth in my head, gathered support from friends and family who kept reassuring me that Mr. Nice Guy wouldn't cheat. So I decided to let it go and see what happened. Well, we know where this is fucking going, don't we? But after that, I started to notice when things felt off. He stopped calling me on the way home from work, which had been our routine. He made plans with a friend I'd never met on a child-free weekend. He even stonewalled me on a family holiday, like he didn't want to be there.
Stonewalled me.
Dunno. I raised my concerns, asking if something was wrong. Even if he was cheating or wanted out, I would have walked away without a fuss, trusting that we weren't destined to be together. But every time he declared his love for me, upped the effort and attention, and we carried on. Until the 27th of November 2024. I actually stayed at his place on the Wednesday and decided to work from there that day. He was at work, but he was fine with me using his computer, at least on the surface. When I logged in, I noticed his Gmail was open, so I took the opportunity to take a look.
No.
And check if any emails from the Strava fan were there. He said she was a recruiter who helped him find a job. I just wanted to see if there was any truth to this story.
Shit.
At first, nothing suspicious showed up. Then, I hit the jackpot.
Oh, you didn't?
I downloaded WhatsApp chat between them.
Why?
But why have you downloaded it?
He's never idiot.
Saved in a draft email. Why would you do that? Oh, because it obviously has to delete it, but wants to have it.
Yeah.
It had been downloaded back in February, right after I first questioned him about her. The messages went all the way back to May 2021 before we even met. Turns out he actually met her on Bumble. Of course he did. Back in 2018, before the end of his 13-year relationship. Shocker. Not.
Wow.
Kept in contact with her ever since, ramping things up the year before we met. He spent Christmas and New Year with her, yet days later, he was making a new play for me. You're a prick. I saw the full extent of their communication, endless daily chats, a complete copy and paste job of the sweet nothings he used to send me. Even the same post-run selfies, gross. And the sexting, way more creative than anything I'd ever got. I know from her that they met up at least 10 times a year and he was consistently in her life, messaging and calling every day. Honestly, it was a blessing I found the evidence. It left no room for him to lie or spin it. The truth was clear and I had no doubt about the extent of the betrayal. I packed my stuff, walked out of his flat and refused to see him again. Wow.
Queen.
Wow. Give me that energy.
That is main character energy, and anyone listening to this needs to fucking embrace it.
Love that.
Queen.
Not only did he cheat on me, but he also ingrained himself into the lives of me and my 2 innocent children and gave me false hope to someone else. I reached out to her the same day and it turned out she had no idea about me. She had her reservations, thinking he was just a bit of a commitment phobe. But after seeing the messages, I could tell he'd been stringing her along, denying he had a girlfriend multiple times and even accusing her of cheating. And the audacity.
Oh, that takes a...
Again, just shows sometimes the other woman actually has no idea. And I love that you sort of like approached her, not in like some like aggressive manner. Yeah. There's a lot more to the story, but that's not mine to share. Maybe she'll listen to this and feel inspired to write in. I'm grateful her reaction was positive. She was warm and supportive. We both cut ties with him that day.
Love.
Oh, I love this. We need to find her. Introduce her to the pod.
Yeah.
I also let his family know via a mic drop message in the family group chat, and then I left the group.
Oh my God. You mic drop something else.
That is unreal. Hold on, why aren't I in my boyfriend's family group?
I'm joking. That is sick.
Oh my God. We've had one conversation since. I laid everything out and that was it. And you know what? I didn't cry. Not once. I felt relieved. My instincts were spot on. I don't regret the last 3 years. I had a great time, but I'm grateful we didn't take that next step. I truly believe in everything you say about doing the work after a breakup, no matter the circumstances. Know who you are, know what you want, know your worth, know your boundaries, because when you're honest with yourself, nobody can fuck with you.
Hell no, motherfucker.
Had I not concentrated on healing after my divorce, the dramatic end to this relationship might have hit me differently. Final note. I have an amazing 50-50 co-parenting relationship with my now ex-husband. We even just got back from a week abroad with the kids. Ironically, a trip I'd originally booked with the cheater. Keep doing what you're doing, girls. Big love.
Wow.
I love you. That was inspiring.
And we all like be inspired by that energy, and that's what we're embracing this week.
And no one needs a Matt the Pratt.
No one needs a...
Oh no, it was twat. Pratt twat.
Pratt.
Stupid name.
Little rat.
Literally. Matt the Rat. You're a fucking prat. And you ain't coming in my twat.
You shat.
Love that. Thank you for sending that in. It has also actually slightly triggered me. I'm going to quickly go into a corner and cry. Yeah. I'm not joking. I don't know why I'm laughing. Sorry, the door just slammed shut. Sorry, is that a sign? Is that a sign? Elijah's just left. See ya.
At least Elijah stormed out. Okay. What a bloody mess. Help.
Oh dear.
Hi ladies, love the pod so much and I'm hoping for your wise words of advice. I'm now on Patreon too, as I binged all your episodes in a matter of weeks after only starting a couple of months ago. Please keep me anonymous. I'm a 32-year-old mum to a 6-year-old little boy and I've been with his dad for over 7 years. He has a 9-year-old boy from a previous relationship who we have every weekend. And we've got the typical family life. We bought our first home together a few years ago, which we waited years to be able to do and finally happened with saving and a little help from my parents towards the deposit. Long story short, I'm not sure where I want to be anymore and if my heart is still in the relationship. I'm very much an independent and driven person and I work hard to make sure I reach my goals. Since having my son, I've over doubled my salary by working my way up and I love having a career as well as being a mum. I'm outgoing and the social butterfly out of the pair of us. We've always balanced each other out, but I'm worrying now if we've grown apart now the children are a bit older and less dependent on us. My partner is much more of a go to work, do the bare minimum and go home type of person and earns almost half of what I do. So I do foot the majority of bills, which I do not mind at all. He doesn't have any hobbies or go out, but I will add that his mates are rubbish and have either all disappeared since being in a relationship or they're still out partying every weekend, which he no longer wants to do. Don't get me wrong, my partner is an amazing dad, dotes on us all as a family, and forever puts me and the children first. As much as he isn't career-driven and he does the bare minimum in that respect, he does give his absolute all to us as a family and me as a partner. He does struggle with his mental health, but seems to have gotten worse over the last couple of years. He's had bouts of being addicted to pain medication and got himself in debt through this, which is another burden I feel. He's lied to me about it quite a few times, which has left my trust in tatters and our foundation broken. His parents ended up bailing him out of that. He said he'd get the help, but then didn't, and I'm just so over it.
It's because he had no consequences because his parents enabled him, yeah.
I do think he's stopped now, but do still have moments of doubt and don't know if I'll ever be able to trust him or be able to rely on him for stability. I think I've mentally checked out due to the trust being broken so many times. Due to this, I now control absolutely everything when it comes to accounts, money, bills, credit reports, etc. However, this has left me feeling like a mum rather than a partner, and it's not attractive at all. I'm the male energy in the relationship, which I cannot stand. I really relate to this from my past relationship.
So,
Yeah. He's completely shit with money and has no drive to make himself better in this area at all. I believe if you want something, you can do it. Just give yourself a kick up the fucking arse and stop wallowing. That's my attitude too. We no longer have sex. I don't have the desire to at all because a lot of what he does just drains me and I now resent him. I did think the no sexual desire was a general thing across all males until my recent work Christmas party. I am by no means a cheat. I never have in my life. I've never so much as looked at another man in this relationship or previous. However, things got very flirty with an attractive male colleague and we shared a very passionate kiss.
I wasn't expecting that.
That's cheating. Which has woken something in me. Not with him necessarily, but I found myself wanting that desire again, which I thought was dead. I used to be a really sexual person and love trying new things, but I've lost that part of me over the years. I can afford to be on my own, just about, but we would have to sell up, as although I can pay the bills on paper, I wouldn't be able to get a sole mortgage on the house. I'd have to rent or buy a very small place alone. It also worries me that the parental duty, household life and full-time working will all be on me and it scares me to death. My partner will be left with very little money to get his own place, a car, etc. After he pays maintenance to his ex, etc., he'd be left with a small amount each month, meaning he'd be able to afford a house share or room at the most. I don't want this to be my son's weekends, going from a nice family home to a grungy bedsit, etc. There's not a lot of equity in the home as we've just bought it in the grand scheme of things, and the money my parents gave me would give back to them or I'd use myself, not split it. This means he wouldn't walk away with much either. He works 4 on, 4 off, so we'd likely do 50-50. But this also worries me that my son would have no stability as the days with each of us would change from one week to the next. I feel guilt, stress, upset for breaking the family home and also dread of starting over. A single mum with little to no money left after bills and no time to do anything, never mind have time to ever date again. Not that that's at the forefront of my mind, but I don't want to die an old woman with her 47 cats. I just don't know how to navigate any of this. We've chatted it through until our ears bleed, but I just can't see a way back to happiness with him. We don't laugh, enjoy time together, or get excited to spend time kid-free. Am I weak for not fighting more? Am I weak for staying? Do I be strong and leave? I just feel I've outgrown the relationship, but I don't know what to think, and I could really do with an outside view. Have I got the 7-year itch, or is it in the ditch? Help. Love from a very confused and overstimulated mum.
I think that you've given up, but I'm wondering whether you've given up because you got attention elsewhere. And that would be my worry. My worry would be that you're basing your decision on a short-term high. I'd almost, if it were me, be inclined to, because I don't know whether there's any communication with this guy that you've kissed. I don't know like where, because you've mentioned that, but then there's been no mention of him since. So have you ever spoken to him again? Like, do you work with him? Do you get this buzz when you see him every day at work? Like, are you continuing an affair? Do you want to continue an affair? It's treading very dangerous ground where you could be throwing away something that has the potential to be worked on for something that has no growth and potential and longevity. And that would be my thoughts initially. If there is anything going on with that man, or you do get that dopamine hit every time you're going to work, wondering like, oh, I want to look cute, and is he going to notice me, and will we kiss again? I would cut that off immediately and not make any quick rash decisions about your marriage and your future with this man until there are no distractions in place. That would be my main advice.
I'm thinking,
and I need to take my socks off because I'm so hot.
literally, I feel like I'm disintegrating. I'm thinking, yeah, I am wondering whether this was obviously like ignited by this feeling. And I know you said like you've got no desire to be sexual with him, but I wonder if you really make a conscious effort with that. Like, why don't you do something like sext him?
It doesn't sound like she wants to.
Yes, but try, like, if you're with him. And like, thing is, I understand and I agree when we're not happy, like, that's absolutely reason to leave. And I'm not saying don't. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate and making sure we've exhausted everything here. Because I think your concerns are very valid. It's not just, I'm unhappy. It's thinking about the kind of life your son's going to have.
The trust has been broken from him as well.
I agree. No, I agree. I'm just saying, it sounds like a lot of it, what you're chasing is that excitement again. And I'm just wondering whether you've really exhausted things. I wonder whether, I don't know, like, do a bit of sexting, get some toys, try and not force yourself to have sex with someone. That's not what I'm saying.
You know that podcast I was telling you about that I listened to this morning? So I listened to, for anyone that doesn't know who she is, Esther Perel. She's like a really well-known relationship expert. And she speaks a lot about sex as well. And she was on Stephen Bartlett's podcast a few weeks ago. And it was really interesting because they started talking about monogamy and, you know, how sometimes like men might be sometimes find the thought of only having one sexual partner for the rest of their life quite daunting. And she was saying actually it's women that tend to struggle with that idea more, and men, and when like partners don't have sex, men tend to think that the woman just isn't interested in sex. But it's not that they're not interested in sex, they're not interested in the sex that they are being offered. And if you want a woman to be interested, you've got to make it worthwhile for them to be interested in it. And I feel like there's probably a bit of a lack of communication with you guys. Maybe if you spoke about sex.
And just people struggle to talk about sex. I've actually been watching Open House.
What's that?
Oh my God. Channel 4. It's basically a program where couples are looking to explore non-monogamy and open up their relationship. So it's this house where basically they've got...
Is it American?
No, it's English.
Really?
Yeah, they've got residents in there who are like in open relationships. They're very like fluid in terms of like sexual experiences. So there's like some couples in there who like to couple swap. There's like some unicorns who just like to like have sex with couples and stuff.
That's crazy unicorn.
What?
You're going to be a unicorn.
I'm not going to be a unicorn. Maybe. No, but it's really interesting. So basically then there's like couples who go in and they're all going in for different reasons. So like, for example, there was one couple who, quite weird, but the woman really believes in, weirdly, they've got children together, but she believes in like polyamory. So she believes she has so much love to give. She doesn't just feel like she can love just her husband, and she wants to explore that. And then like, she's basically like, I'm going to leave you unless you're open to explore this. And there's other people who like, there's a couple who want to couple swap. There's like people who want to introduce third person. And really interestingly, I mean, I can't remember how many episodes I'm in, but really interestingly, when it comes to the crunch and they're like about to have a threesome or something like that, or they've done something, it's actually the men who are struggling more than the women.
That doesn't surprise me when it comes
I don't know.
I feel like men...
This man had the opportunity to have a threesome.
I didn't. Men is in like another man being...
No. So there was like a threesome, these two women, this like his partner and another woman, and he was just like, I couldn't get hard. Like it just, he's like, he froze. Like the thought of like the non-monogamy was a lot. And I do think, I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah.
I think it's because I just started thinking about...
it just made me think of that. But really interesting watch. Like it shows a bit of sex, won't lie? But
I think I might watch it.
Yeah, you'd really like it. It's one of those things that I really find it interesting watching things that are so like
alien
and far from what you're used to. Like just having these, it's also really interesting to watch people having open conversations about what it is they need in their sex life. And I really respect that. Like I really respect feeling like you need more than you're getting, being able to have an open conversation with your partner, articulate that. And like, for the most part, some of the couples like both want to explore things, but some of them it's like my partner wants to and I want to make sure I'm fulfilling their needs. And it's just really, it's a really interesting watch. I'm not saying go and put this on, it's going to fix your relationship, but I do think we need to be more upfront about our sexual needs, particularly as relationships go on and that changes and we've got other things going on, and keeping that drive and fun and spontaneity alive.
I think the issue that this woman has is with the attention from the other man, she no longer wants the attention from her husband.
Yeah.
And I think that if there's so many factors that are not sitting well with you about separating from your children's dad, then you need to remove any external distractions and try your best to do what you can to try and make it work first, because I think what you've got is salvageable. It's whether or not you want to make it work.
I agree.
Keep us updated, please. Okay, this is an update from episode 71, finding out he cheated with his ex-wife 2 years ago. Let me see if I can... She hasn't followed it on from the last email. Hi, you lovely ladies. I wrote in a few months ago about my situation. If you remember, I wrote in stating that I was about to meet my boyfriend's children, meet his ex-wife, and all was going smoothly, but I had the gut feeling something happened when they still lived together at the start of our relationship. I remember. To clarify for viewers, I saw a few comments saying about dating a married man and read glad he lived with her still. To explain, he was separated and was going through a divorce. I'm sure Carly can emphasise these divorces take ages to go through and it's not a quick process.
Hi, still here 2 years in.
But you shouldn't not be able to date when separated. He was in the house until 3 months into our relationship, and only reason that was because his child was very poorly with constant health issues, so he stayed to support at home. Anyway, here is my update. I followed your advice and confronted him. I was physically shaking, telling the man you're in love and you've been because she looked at his phone and we were like, you need to be honest with him. I was physically shaking, telling the man that you're in love with, that you've been on his phone. He was initially okay, then went a bit pissed off and then went okay again. Overall, he was quite calm, to be honest, about me being on his phone. He explained that it was after they received some bad news about the child that they kissed. He explained it wasn't sex. He said he should have told me, but he did not want to ruin something special that we had going. He explained that it was just a silly mistake 2 years ago. He had only recently started the divorce process back then, so it was all fresh and raw. He was reassuring and said that I can go through any of the messages and confirm that it's never happened since. He was a bit pissed off that I had betrayed his trust by going on his phone, and then realised that he had ample amount of time to tell me over the years and failed to do so. We were rocky for about 2 months, to be honest. We delayed the ex and the child, me, until he knew it was right. I'm now 5 months on and all is well. We have worked on ourselves and together to make a happy relationship. I met his children about 5 times now and it's going great. They are wonderful little kids. The ex didn't want to meet me in the end. Change of heart at the end, I guess. The offer was there though from the start. I wonder if it is because in her eyes she wasn't completely over him, but who knows. But to cut a long story short, I took your advice to confront him and see his reaction, and it worked out well, so I want to thank you ladies. Don't get me wrong, I still have some work to do on trusting again, but I'm trying not to let it ruin our relationship and think about it every day. Thank you for your advice, girls, and I can't wait to see the next chapter.
It's nice to know, like, it's like what you said, like you are moving on from it. You're not holding the resentment. And I think where it was quite early on in the relationship, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's probably easier.
But do you know what? I'm thinking in my head, like, what would I do? Because if you're finding out 2 years on, it was right at the beginning of your relationship. He was still living with her. I guess it's also like wondering, like, what was your relationship like? Were you official then? Were you not? Like, look, at the end of the day, cheating is cheating.
I think the right thing for him to do would have been to tell you. I just think it's really... What's the word? I think it's great that you've managed to move forwards a bit and forgive him and see it for what it was.
Yeah.
And I really hope it all goes well. Okay. This one's called Lies, Drugs and Sexual Abuse Update. So this lady wrote in, she's actually doing a recap for us. So, hi ladies, it's been a while since my original email back in August of 2024, but wanted to give you an update as you read my story on Patreon. Quick recap. I fell in love and married a man. He proposed to me at the happiest place on earth, Disney. who later became a binge drinker and took drugs. This man financially, emotionally, and sexually abused me. And once he did the latter, I instantly called the police, to which he was arrested in September 2023. I was left broken, a single mum of a 2-year-old and a 3-month-old. Now for the update. We're now in 2025, and whilst I don't think I will ever be fully healed from the trauma of his physical assault on me, every day gets a little easier. As you can imagine, raising 2 kids solo is tough. I live on coffee and hope that I will make it through another day without tearing my hair out. I am so lucky to have family from both sides who are helping me with the kids, allow me to take a break from time to time, or even work so that I can provide for my girls, because he hasn't since he left. Since his arrest in 2023, it has been a long journey. We went to family court regarding the safety of the kids and how he should see them. He had to do a court-ordered drug test, to which surprised the judge, his family, but funny enough, not me. It averaged out over the course of a year. He was drinking to the value of 1.5 bottles of wine a night, complete with 2 shots. That's wild. Not to mention any coke he was doing on top. It was agreed he was to have supervised visits with agreed family members. He last saw the girls on Father's Day of 2024 and then ran off to his mum's in Dorset because he lost his job in the city and clearly didn't want to face the music. He was meant to see the kids for an entire week but never showed up for them. Luckily for me, the grandparents on his side continued with the contact and the girls had a great time and see them every month for an entire weekend to give me a break. He quite literally upset so many of his family members with his behaviour that they now are not speaking to him. He hasn't paid any child support until I persuaded CMS to find him and put in a liability order, which took time but has been granted. He now pays weekly. Regarding the assault, he has his hearing in May 2025. So it would have been gone now. And you guessed it, pleaded not guilty to sexual assault, but pleaded guilty to criminal damage. He smashed up my phone when I rang a friend to save me.
Oh my God.
So where does this leave us? Well, we have a court date set for October 2026. It will be almost 3 years after the incident happened before we go to trial. I wanted to give you the update to you and your listeners because despite how long this is taking, I don't regret calling the police. I know some women struggle with the idea of reporting this type of crime, but to those women, stick with it. I'm not going to lie, I have days where I'm still making excuses for his behaviour, but quickly give myself a metaphorical slap and say no. This was nothing you did. This is who he is and doesn't show any signs of changing. So now my brain is focused on making my kids happy, making me happy and providing for my girls. I have been dating and I'm learning that some of my responses to things are based on my trauma, but I'm able to recognise it and act on it before I spiral. Anyway, I'll guess you'll hear from me when the trial is over. So until November 2026, I will forever keep doing the work and making my life for my kids as normal and filled with love and laughter as possible.
Well, thank you for giving us an update.
Yeah, I think it's really inspirational for anyone listening who can maybe relate to that as well. Like, not
or they're unsure,
bogged down by the fight of it all. You've got to stand up for justice and what's right, and it's so important you do.
Okay, this is a bit different. This subject is called Response to Recent Comments, Sharing My Perspective. And I can see what comment she's talking about.
Let me guess, it was you.
Yeah. Hi, Tash and Carly. Firstly, thank you for your work that you've put into the podcast. I've been a listener for some time and usually enjoy the way you tackle real topics head on. That being said, getting told off. That being said, I wanted to respond to a comment made in a recent episode. Specifically, the suggestion that women who cheat are called sluts. Can I quickly make a comment here? I did a few weeks later say...
Yeah, you did.
That, like, it wasn't actually, like, meant with, like, malice and, like, oh, it's
just... I meant men who cheat are sluts too.
No, but, like... I mean, we've even spoken recently about like how like let's not blame the other women. They can be manipulated. It's not about the women.
I don't think
it was like it was a throwaway comment. I think people are getting a bit uptight. The remark really struck a nerve with me, and I'd like to offer another perspective, one that's personal. I'm all for constructive criticism. I'm all for hearing people's opinions, but I just want to make it clear that I don't know who she was. Like, I don't know that she's a slut. Like, it wasn't said with like...
She made a snippet of judgment of her behaviour, and do you know what? That's what people do.
Not only that, but like, I feel like calling someone a slut is better than being like commenting on like
Their looks.
fat, ugly. Shouldn't like, because I wouldn't like do that.
I don't think it was meant with any malice.
No, it wasn't. I mean, I'd like to think that people that listen to our podcast enough will know that.
I do also like... We say stuff.
Also, you got to remember sometimes when...
the twat.
Yeah, I think also sometimes you got to remember that, like, although we're recording this and it's going out to tens of thousands of people, had to just put that figure out there. We are, when we're recording, reading things, it's just like two best friends talking. Can you imagine if your group chat or the conversations that you have with friends got put out there? Sometimes we say things without thinking.
Imagine if somebody exposed some of your group chat.
Yeah, anyway, a long time ago, I was in a sexless marriage due to an undiagnosed medical problem which caused excruciating pain during sex. Years went on and my GP in hospital dismissed it and said it was a psychological issue. Finally, after being referred to another consultant, I was diagnosed with having vulvar vestibulitis with additional vaginismus.
Okay.
I don't know what that is. I mean, yeah, sorry if I've clearly said that wrong. It took a long time to recover from this, but I felt I was starting to get back on track. However, I soon realised that I no longer found my husband sexually attractive due to associating him with the pain of sex and sex with him and the understandable resentment that he had built towards me over the years. At this time, I hadn't felt normal as I couldn't even have sex with my husband, and I felt extremely low because of it. I felt broken, emotionally neglected and unsupported. I tried to communicate my needs and asked him to attend sex therapy sessions with me, but I was dismissed more times than I could count. We were hoping to start a family, but I did not want to do this while feeling the way I did. I loved him so much, however, we had become more like roommates through these difficult years. He wanted to bury his head with our problems, and I must admit, I wasn't as communicative as I should have been about my feelings for fear of hurting his. Stupid, really, as I ended up hurting him more down the line. Eventually, I made the mistake and cheated with a married man. I had someone giving me the attention I craved, and despite battling off numerous times, his tenaciousness finally got the better of me. On a low day, I'm not proud of it. My husband found out, and despite the initial anger towards me, begged for me back and defended my actions to outsiders, which actually made me feel even worse. I knew my marriage was over deep down. He was as unhappy as me, just coming from a place of fear. For years after our split, I tortured myself for the pain I had caused him and his family. This gave me severe depression and anxiety. 10 years later, my second husband left me for a work colleague when my child was 2. After the initial pain of what happened, I felt relief that karma had finally caught up with me. I didn't react to the affair as much as I was going through so much pain for the life I thought my child would have had. I saw this as punishment for my past behaviour. I guess what I'm trying to say is that as much as Tash is absolutely correct in saying that cheating comes from a lack of self-worth and insecurity, not everyone is a slut for doing it. That's not what I've said. So, okay, thank you, but that's not what I said. Literally, I actually don't know if it was in last week's episode, I was saying how don't blame the woman, they're manipulated, they're lied to, yeah. I feel it's so easy to say this when you haven't been in this position. When I hear comments such as once a cheater, always a cheater, it makes me angry. I know I will never cheat again and communicate how I'm feeling in my relationship. Past experience, accepting accountability and my inner work makes me positive of this. Saying that, I also appreciate that there are cheats that do this time and time again and have no accountability for their actions, and I feel so sad for those affected. People cheat for many reasons, and while cheating is not something I defend or take lightly, reducing a woman to a label because of one wrong decision, especially without understanding the full story, is unfair and harmful. Again, I didn't do that. This often, sorry, but I'm not going to sit here taking an email like this when it's been taken out of context so much. There's often a lot more behind those choices than what's visible on the surface. I now, 17 years later, don't believe my action define me as a person or makes me a slut. again, if you'd asked me my opinion, I would agree with you. I'm sharing this not to justify cheating, but to ask for a bit more empathy in how these conversations are framed. I'm very empathetic, but I won't change how I am on the podcast. Labels like the one used in the episode can be really damaging and dismissive, especially when they ignore the human complexity behind these choices. Thanks for reading. My intention is not to offend, just educate. I don't need educating on me having an opinion about people that cheat. People that cheat aren't necessarily sluts, but at the end of the day, people are making active choices to cheat
or to not leave before engaging with us. Like you
weren't happy, you could have left.
Yeah, and you said you felt very clear that you weren't attracted to him, you weren't happy. At that point, you should have left.
I feel like, if anything, and not throwing you under the bus, but I feel like out of me and Carly, I'm sometimes more the one that sometimes tries to see the other side more so. So I'm sorry I've clearly offended you, but I really think that you've taken it out of context. If every episode, whenever we spoke about cheaters, I was like, oh, here comes another slut or another one slut.
I also we're allowed to have our own opinions on what's acceptable in a relationship and how people conduct themselves. And look, like,
some people might hear your email and think that you are trying to justify that you cheated. I'm not saying that.
I think it's great that you've learned from it, and you've said like it's not something you'll ever do again and things like that. I also think
people are entitled to also say once a cheat, always a cheat. I wouldn't go out with a cheater.
Yeah, and also, like, I don't know, put yourself in someone else's shoes. Like, for example, the married man who you cheated with, how his wife would feel, and having that empathy for other people on the receiving end of it, how that impacts someone's life as well. It's not just your life it's impacting. It actually, and I'm not saying that's not the married man's fault as well. I'm just saying everything we do has a knock-on effect on how people feel. And we're allowed to sit here and, it really wasn't that deep. I think we're allowed to say passing comments. We are just like live reacting to things. It's not that deep. We're like, you're a disgusting, dirty slut. That's not what's been said in any way, shape or form. I do think it's been taken slightly out of context, but also like, I don't believe in cheating. I think it's wrong. And whilst people can be in situations where, you said like he was quite persistent for a while. Like if you knew that pressure was there, I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Hold a firm boundary. I've got to be honest. I sort of feel like you've been triggered by me saying the word slut because of stuff that you've done that isn't right. So I'm sorry I offended you.
What you need to do.
Yeah.
Yourself for it.
I mean, I don't know if you're going to carry on listening to the podcast after this episode. It doesn't really sound like you're much of a fan of me anyway. But yeah, I am who I am.
Was not expecting that.
What? That email?
That was a turn of events.
Look, I'm like I've always said, I'm so open to growth, to getting constructive criticism, but I also think maybe it's worth reflecting on why it triggered you. I think the thing is, what's actually interesting is we mentioned it because we got a comment about it. And when I spoke about it, then so many of you messaged me afterwards or messaged us, I think on the teaser, or so, I can't remember how it was. It might have just been on Patreon, being like, we knew you were just joking, like it wasn't that deep. So maybe this is a self-reflection thing. Anyway, confession of the week. Oh no, let's do a product of the week first. I know we've actually already done a product of the week for tan, but I want to shout out to the tan that I'm using at the moment. It is the new oil spray from Be Perfect. I've only really ever got on with Be Perfect Fake Tan. I haven't really tried any. Well, I have tried others, but I haven't liked any others. This is their new tanning oil. I love it. I think it's also
funny about oil.
The only thing I would say that's a bit annoying is I spray it on the mitt, not my body. And when you do spray it on the mitt, I do it over the sink. That's the only thing I would say is a bit annoying. Yeah. But like it goes on such like a nice consistency that I then go out with it before I wash it off. Like it's really nice, and I feel like it comes off very naturally. It doesn't go scaly or horrible.
Yeah.
And we're both looking very bronze at the moment. Confession of the week.
Okay, nice, short and sweet. When I found out my husband had been cheating, I used his credit card to pay for the divorce.
Oh, did you? Love that.
Love that.
Here for that energy.
Okay, we're
Good
going to
make
do...
of the week.
I am not a slut.
I am not a slut. Thank you guys for listening. We love you.
Bye.
See you next week. Love you. Bye.